this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Hey, Ben, you see all that food over there? You think we should just dive in and start eating it?
I don't know, man. I don't see anybody around. There's nobody taking money. I mean, who cooked it, even?
I don't know. I did hear a rumor that if you eat it, you turn into a pig, though. You still want to do it?
Maybe. What kind of pig? Like the Floyd of Rosedale?
Well, here's my thought. I haven't. The Floyd of Rosedale hasn't been in Minnesota in a very long time. So if I eat all this food, turn into a giant bronze pig, maybe that's as close as I'll ever get.
I don't know, man. Who told you this, by the way?
This little spirit dude. He was flying around. I think he might have turned into a dragon. I'm not entirely sure. I think I ate some mushrooms. Something's going. There's some crazy drugs happening for me right now.
Well, you've talked me into it. Let's chow down. And you should chow down on this discussion of Spirited Away on the Pod of Dreams.
Walt Disney Studios presents a Studio Ghibli film.
Honey, don't take a shortcut. You always get us lost.
From master filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki.
What is it?
Come on, let's go in. I want to see what's on the other side.
Where are you going? Hey! You said just a quick look! Now let's go back!
You shouldn't be here. Get out of here, now!
What?
Leave before it gets dark. You've got to get across the river. Go! I'll distract them.
Mommy! Ah! I'm dreaming! Ah! Come on, wake up! I'm see-through!
Don't be afraid. I'm Master Haku.
No!
I just want to help you.
No!
In worlds seen and unseen, where spirits are transformed, Walt Disney Studios presents a Studio Ghibli film. Experience a magical movie phenomenon embraced by all the world.
Let's go!
This fall, prepare to be spirited away.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Pod of Dreams. I am Ben, along with Eric. Today we are talking about a little movie called Spirited Away, movie I've never seen before, and we're going to get into it. But first, Eric, I wanted to ask you, the whole time I was watching this movie, I watched it with my oldest daughter and my wife. I was really enjoying it. It's very weird, but there's this little voice in the back of my head saying, oh, this is going to be too weird for Eric. This is going to be too weird for Eric. Oh, Eric's not going to like how weird this is. Was it too weird for you?
It was very close. It was very close to being too weird for me. So I did not watch it with my kids. I should have. It just didn't work out with like things happening. I should definitely have watched it with them. I think they would have enjoyed it. I think they would have been a little weirded out by some of the insane things that happen in this movie. Did your daughter, was she just like cool with like spider guy with 6 arms, or the 3 floating heads that bounced around, like 3 green floating heads?
She had questions for sure, but she rolled with it. I mean, she's 7. She rolled with it. We're going to dive into the plot because I do want to spend some time trying to explain this plot to people, because I think it's going to sound insane when we describe the plot to this movie. But I want to take a step back and talk about Miyazaki in general first, just a little bit. He's a Japanese filmmaker, exclusively does animated films. He's retired now, but he has a whole host of these movies, all with the various degrees of weirdness. I think Spirited Away might be the single weirdest one of his that I've seen. But his movies are very, very different. They're very, very Japanese on some level, so they're way, way different than, if you're used to Disney and Pixar, these hit in a totally different way. Our family has loved a lot of these movies. I've been super into it, and I've just been waiting. Spirited Away is often considered his best, or it's a contender for one of his best, and I've been wanting to watch it for a while and watch it with a kid, with my oldest. You said your daughters have seen some of the other movies, Eric?
Yeah, if you listen back our previous episode, like I said, my brother is a huge Miyazaki, right? Miyazaki,
Miyazaki's how I say it,
Okay.
but I'm not
Huge fan
confident.
He's been all in with him, for a long time. So he has like the Blu-rays of all of his movies. He's got one of those like Chromebook collections or whatever, or Steelbook or whatever they're called. So he lent them to me right when the pandemic started. We watched Ponyo, we watched My Neighbor Totoro, we watched Kiki's the which one where they're flying around. Yeah, okay. So we watched a lot of them, and I think I saw Princess Mononoke in the theater when that came out, because
the late 90s.
Yep, because that one had like, I think Matt Damon does one of the voices in it. Claire Danes does a voice. It had like some really big name American, whatever the American dubbed version of it.
Yeah, they get pretty big celebrities to do it. Like Tina Fey does Ponyo.
Right.
She's the mom.
Yep. So like that was like the boom of anime. I mean, anime became huge in the late 90s, 2000s, like Dragon Ball Z, and Akira's the one. I mean, that's like the godfather of anime is from my
from
perspective.
The U.S. perspective, at least, like in terms of crossing over. Yes, I remember Akira being really huge. I mean, they're kids movies though. Like that's for. But did your daughters, just before we get to the fact that they're kids movies and not for grown men like you, did your daughters like any of those movies?
They liked Ponyo and Totoro.
Those
Totoro.
resonated.
They liked both of those movies. I think Ponyo, the one they liked the most. That's the little fish person. It's like basically Pinocchio.
It's more, Little Mermaid too. It's also got some serious Little Mermaid vibes as well. A fish girl comes out of the water and wants to become human. And that one came out 2012. I mean, those are probably the two biggest in our house because those are the most like little kid friendly.
Right.
And there's some ancillary weirdness, but they're a lot more straightforward than something like Spirited Away, which gets mired in a lot of other weird stuff. But you're about to say they're kids movies, right? So there's just not a lot for somebody who's not a kid.
No, I think they're designed for children, and I read a little bit about Spirited Away, and I think he specifically said he wrote this to be a movie for 10-year-olds, like basically kids that age, and I mean that's the design that's who the audience is intended for.
How do you explain your brother's love of these movies?
He's got just kind of an appreciation for that, a childlike appreciation for some of that stuff, which I guess it's been beaten out of me. Kirk Cousins maybe beat all of my childish loving stuff. All the misery that Minnesota sports teams have given me has crushed my soul to appreciate that stuff. It's just there's a lot of stuff I'm watching. It's like, this isn't just not for me. Like, Disney movies come out, like my kids like them, but it's just not for me. And that's fine.
Oh, sure.
It's okay. I mean, it's creative as hell. Like I said, there are things, there's points in this movie where whatever the next image could be anything. Cause I have no preconceived notions of what I'm about to see. And every time I'm blown away by what it is, I'm like, okay, there's a dragon now. All right. Didn't see that coming. Or this big garbage monster starts throwing up trash, and she pulls a bike out of him, and he blows up. Whoa, okay, that's what's happening. All right. There's just scene after scene. Once they get to the bathhouse, everything that happens is just you just got to shut your brain off and just let it all kind of wash over you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned. So one of the things I like about Miyazaki is they're just so unlike anything I've ever seen, and there's probably a whole trove of anime that I'm totally unaware of that has some similarities. But when I see his movies, I don't know what's coming up next. I don't know where the plot's going to go. I have no idea what's going to happen or what images are going to come on the screen, and it is so weird. It's weird from the imagery and the mythology standpoint, which we in the West are. I mean, I don't know anything about Japanese mythology, but there's apparently a lot of that stuff is in Spirited Away. But also the way the plot unfolds. There's not really a quote-unquote villain. There sort of is, but it's not like a Disney movie. There's no Ursula who gets defeated.
Well, there's a witch. There's a
sort
witch.
of, but they don't confront her in the end. It's not a big fight. She doesn't need to be defeated.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'll say, there's always like a tenderness to his movies, which, you know, I think is the kind of refreshing in a way.
Well,
like,
right.
There are dark things, there's some scary situations, but all the main characters always have this sort of sweetness and tenderness that, you know, I mean, he's obviously in his movies, he's trying to address, like, you know, capitalism and environmentalism. And, you know, there's a lot of heavy stuff to it, but at the core,
I think you could argue child prostitution in this one as well. You know, she works at a bathhouse, and she's forced to consign herself to work for this witch woman. So I was reading some interpretations about that. So some really
I guess I hadn't
stuff.
thought about that, but now that you mention it, for sure, yeah.
But let's talk a little about the plot, because it's tender, and the way the plot gets resolved. I mean, the big finale of this movie is the main character taking a train and returning a stolen object to somebody who we think is going to be an antagonist and isn't. And then everybody kind of comes to a better understanding of what's happening, and it works out better for pretty much everybody involved in the entire movie. It's great. I'm going to try to describe the plot. And I'm going to try to pronounce Japanese. It's going to go horribly. Forgive me for butchering it, but I'm going to try. So we got
before you do, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So a couple quick questions. One, does Miyazaki so he writes these movies and he also illustrates them? Is that true?
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think he's the only one that illustrates them, but
right.
Yes, he illustrates them.
He does the original sketches and all that stuff, because they do all of the movies kind of have a similar look to them. I mean, the characters and the way the characters are drawn is similar. And then I guess my other question, I watched this there was no subtitles. It had American dubbing.
Yeah. Did you watch on HBO Max?
Yeah.
Me too.
So is that like the lesser version of it? Do you know if there's like a, you know, because a lot of American dub movies, I actually, for foreign films, I would much prefer to read the subtitles and see the original voice but with an animated movie, it's a little different, because it's not like there's, you know, they don't have to match up the voice with the person because it's animated. So it worked for me.
I prefer the dub version, or not the dub. I prefer subtitles pretty much always. I want it in the native language, and then just give me the English words so I can understand. That's even with animated. That's how I want it. That's the ideal version. The dubs for Miyazaki films are really good. They get quality voice actors. The translations are really, really good, despite the fact that, you know, language can be tough to transfer. I just didn't have a way of watching. I have a DVD of it as well, but I don't know where my DVD player is. So I didn't try to look up and figure out how to watch the subtitled version. And that's what I would have preferred. But the dub is really, really good.
Okay.
And I've done the dubs with, you know, my oldest one is now kind of able to read a little bit, but still she would need the dub version to be able to really get it. She's just not quite there yet to be able to read a subtitled movie. But that's what I would prefer. I'm kind of a purist there. Like, give me the native language you shot it in, and then just translate it for me. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want the cadence, the rhythm of your language, and we'll do the best to help me understand the cultural difference. But I want to dive into the plot for this because it's so bizarre. Chihiro is our protagonist. She's a 12-year-old girl who's moving from like a big city to some rural part of the city in Japan, and they're getting ready to go to the new house, and the parents are just kind of goofy and weird, and I don't know, this might be a cultural thing. They seem kind of like jerks to me. I don't know if you got that same vibe, but
they didn't seem to care that she was there, you know, at all.
Yeah, they're just like, whatever. You're just they seem annoyed by her.
Like, yeah,
they annoyed by her existence. Like she was just annoying them. Maybe that's just like in Japan, parents find their kids annoying. I don't know, maybe.
Well, I think also culturally, and not just in Japan, but like generationally, like there was a generation of parents, maybe a couple generations before us, where they didn't really care to be around their kids much, you know. The whole idea of like latchkey kids where they just come and go, and it's like, what? Leave me alone, you know what I mean? But,
yeah, that's kind of what it was. But the dad takes a wrong turn and drives like a lunatic through a forest, basically, and comes to this sort of like temple monastery. And they're like, whoa, hey, let's check this out. This is super interesting. Let's check it out. Chihiro doesn't really want to go.
Well, he calls it like an amusement park.
Well, when they get to the other side, he does. They don't know what it is. They walk through a
you're
tunnel.
talking before they go through the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah, and she's scared, doesn't want to go, but then like, fine, you stay in the car. We don't care. We're going to go. And then so she's like, well, I guess I'll follow my parents. And they go through, and it's like a monastery. We see like some dusty tables and chairs, like a church, temple, whatever, monastery kind of thing. They get to the other side, and there's a little brook that leads up to these buildings, and the dad claims it's an abandoned amusement park. He's very, very confident in his assessment. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what he does. And they walk up to this like series of buildings.
There's like this. He's like, back in the 90s, they built a bunch of these, but then the economy fell apart and they all became abandoned. It was like, okay, sure.
Well, fine.
Thanks, Dad.
He's very, very confident, and it doesn't really ever make sense. He doesn't really ever scrutinize. He's never curious. He's just confident. It's bizarre to me. But they walk, and then they see all these shops, and they all appear to be restaurants, but there's no people there. They don't see anything, but then they get this whiff of this food that comes in, and the mom and the dad go to seek out where the food's coming from because they're like, oh, hey, I guess if it's open, if it's still an amusement park, we can buy some food here. And there's these big pots and piles of freshly cooked like chicken and dumplings and a bunch of other stuff, and there's no person around.
I will say, for an animated movie, the food looked good.
Sure.
It looked like good food. Some sushi. He had a bunch of sushi.
He talks about how crispy the chicken is. They decided, hey, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and eat the food.
Didn't think a cartoon could make me hungry, but it did.
No, it's good. I mean, the animation is brilliant throughout this. And they decide to eat it, and they're like, oh, well, we'll just square the bill. Somebody will show up, and we'll pay for this food, and it'll be fine. Chihiro doesn't. She's got bad vibes the whole time, and she just goes to explore and comes back. She comes back and starts seeing some weird shapes appear, and she walks back. When she gets back, her parents have turned into literal pigs, like just giant pigs in clothing. She tries to get them to move or do something, but they're pigs. And then she starts noticing all these like spirits and entities walking around. She's not sure what to go, and this dude shows up and says, you're not supposed to be here, and rushes her around. It's kind of like Samurai Dude, and helps hide her because she's in what we're going to find out is a bathhouse for spirits. Like eternal spirits need a break so they can go to a spa and take baths and get massages.
Yeah, like at night, this place turns into some spirit like station, and a bathhouse is part of the reason they're coming there to relax, these spirits.
And Hiro has to hide because she'll get turned into an animal because she's not supposed to be there. And the guy gives her this advice like, okay, if you want to stay here as a human and not be transformed, you have to ask for a job. If you have a job, they can't mess with you. You've got to work at this bathhouse.
But what are they trying to say with that? I was thinking like, okay, is that just like, is it this pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard and you can succeed? Is because that seemed to sort of go against the general kind of idea of, anti-gluttony and anti-waste, that like you just got to work hard, you just got to bust your ass and you can succeed in the world. Or am I just reading too much into it?
No, you can read into whatever you want. I mean, this is one of the things I like. Its themes aren't entirely obvious because we don't really know much about Chihiro early on. I mean, it's like 5 minutes maybe before we're stuck in this plot with this bathhouse where she's there and having a really weird time.
Because then she gets to like Spider Guy and she's like, I'll work hard. And he's like, oh, no, I don't have a job for you because I have these little dust beetles that carry the
coals of the furnace.
Okay.
And this guy has these arms that extend really far and can pull off stuff.
He's like pulling on levers, and
it's so cool and weird.
It's really weird. It's really weird.
It's definitely weird, but it's not like anything I've ever seen before. But yeah, she finds this guy, says he'll work. He says, no, I don't have a job for you. But then somebody else is going to get her up to this woman named Yubaba, who's the head of the bathhouse. But to your point, I don't know. I kind of viewed it as her parents incurred a debt, and then they ended up pushing her down the river, and so she had no choice but to save her life. She had to work at this job because of her parents' poor decision. Right? They essentially sold her into servitude. Is the kind of vibe I got.
Okay. That makes sense. Because
her parents are kind of awful the whole time.
But they didn't. I mean, it wasn't like some capital crime. They just ate some food that was there. You know what I mean? This is a little harsh. right?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you want to view it metaphorically, I mean, it's weird to just eat food that you see as unintended. It's a weird choice. But yeah, no, I don't think you should.
But like the dad said, he's like, I got credit cards, I got cash, we'll just pay for it later. Like, okay, is it really that big of a deal? Nobody's here. I don't know. I think the parents got a raw deal. That's my take on this movie.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the punishment didn't fit the crime. That's for sure. Very, very.
It wasn't
weird.
like they stole the food. Like he was saying, I'll pay for it. Like.
Right, but they don't have any spirit currency. Is
that like the poison apple or that sort of deal, like Cinderella or
could
Adam
be?
and Eve?
I don't know. I guess you could go that route. I don't think this is steeped in Christian tradition necessarily, but you could try to apply a Christian reading to this. I don't know.
But there's also a lot, like not just her working, it's also like she's got to grow up a little bit, right? I think that's a lot of what the movie is. She's kind of a whiny kid in the beginning. She doesn't want to go out even to check out this place, and then eventually she's on her own and she has to work hard and learn how to work a bathhouse.
That's the thing. So the plot's being like her is she works hard and she's kind to people. And that's how the plot gets resolved. So she has to work at this bathhouse, and
she doesn't take things like the evil. Like, we're kind of skipping ahead, but there's like an evil spirit that she lets in accidentally to the bathhouse.
Well, yeah, she doesn't know he's evil, but she lets in. It's ended up being called No Face. It's this weird black blob with a white mask on it. It's called No Face. We find out eventually. It comes in and helps her because it's in the rain. She let it in.
But she's just being nice. Like, come out of the rain. It's okay. She doesn't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just being nice. And that thing ends up helping her because she needs these tokens to do this bath. This giant stink spirit shows up that nobody else wants to deal with. And because she's low on the totem pole.
Shit, man. When this big old stink monster comes in. And
it's like oozing and it pays to use the spa. Everybody's gross. She has to give it a bath and take it seriously and get it clean. She uses these tokens she gets with this no-name spirit.
Honestly, who thinks that she has to hit a hole in the wall, and there's he even draws the detail where there's this little, it's a wire or something that clips the token, and she tugs on it, and then the token gets shot up, and then it shoots the I don't know, herbal water,
whatever.
Yeah. It's like what is happening?
It's so inventive and weird, and I love it. What turns you off turns me on. I think I love that it's so weird. But she gives it a bath, and then she finds out, that it's got a bicycle in it, and pulls it out, and all this muck comes out of this spirit, which turns out to be this dragon thing. And she does a good job because this is a dragon, has a lot of money, and it leaves a bunch of gold, and everybody's really happy for her, and she incurs favor.
There's also this evil witch. I think you mentioned Yubaba. Is that her name?
Yeah, she's the one who runs the bathhouse.
Yeah, she's kind of an evil witch, basically. Yeah.
She steals people's names and forces them into indentured servitude.
Makes her sign a contract, so a little shot at lawyers. Maybe is that what?
Apparently,
Miyazaki doesn't like contracts.
And somebody asks her for a job, she has to say yes for whatever reason. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't like working with studios and the money side of things. I don't know. That very well could be. But
because wasn't he famously just shunned Hollywood, right? Didn't Hollywood try to bring him in and hire him, and he just said, no, I'm just going to...
He probably did. He made his own studio and just always wanted to do his own thing. He's like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to start my own studio and make my own movies. Because there was some
Disney connection, right? Didn't Disney sort of pay for some of his movies? I thought I remember reading that somewhere.
I think they did the dubs. I thought Disney probably paid to do the dubs to distribute in the U.S. or something. If you looked it up, that's what I
thought there was something with Princess Mononoke, that there was some Disney connection, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's very possible. So I would assume they did some distribution and some of the dubs, but I don't know. I could be totally off on that. But that incurs favor. But then in the meantime, this no-face creature eats a frog, can make gold appear, and everybody keeps bringing the no-face thing food, and it keeps generating gold, and everybody keeps flocking to it. And meanwhile, she's following this guy named Haku, who's the guy that helped her in the beginning. Haku's going to help Chihiro get her parents turned not into pigs and back to the human world. and she sees Haku as a dragon flying back, being attacked by what turns out to be like little paper doll things. And she helps him out, but he's in a really bad place. Turns out he'd stolen something from Yubaba, the owner of the bathhouse, sister Zeniba.
Who's a twin? It looks just like her, right?
Correct. And Yubaba, I mean, there's a bunch of things. Yeah, Yubaba has some like familiars. One is the three heads I was talking about that just bounce around and go boop, boop, boop.
Honestly, I was like, am I seeing this correct? Am I on LSD? Like, what is happening?
And there's a little bat crow thing. And she also has a giant baby that's bigger than she is.
Yeah, it's a big baby. Oh, man.
And we don't know. I mean, it's her baby, but we don't know. It talks, but it doesn't leave the room because she's overprotective. It's very bizarre. But they're trying to finish off Haku. Meanwhile, Zeniba wants this golden bracelet thing back. Chihiro really cares for Haku and wants to save him and fights the things off. And Zeniba turns the baby into something else. Turns the baby into like a rat or a gerbil or something. Yeah. The crow gets turned into like a smaller bird. And then the three heads get turned into the baby. And she decides, you know what, she just needs to return the bracelet so that she can save Haku. Again, these are all names that, if you haven't seen the movie, isn't going to make any sense. But
even if you have, it doesn't help me.
I know. I mean, I knew there's no way to describe the plot of this that doesn't make you sound insane. I mean, it's just ludicrous. In the end, the guy with a bunch of arms that is like powering the place with his spider arms and the coal gives her a ticket to ride a train so she can return this golden bracelet to Zeniba, the twin sister of the one who runs the bathhouse. And Zeniba turns out to be really, really nice and helpful. And Haku makes a deal with Yubaba to save Chihiro. And the baby who'd been spoiled ends up getting a personality and becoming better. Everybody becomes like less evil by the end of it. She gets to free her parents, and it's all because she was nice and hardworking and kind. And she also frees Haku because it turns out Haku was once a spirit of the Kohaku River and saved her when she was drowning trying to get a shoe of hers. And he had forgotten his name because he was indentured in servitude in Yubaba. Anyway, that's a fraction of the craziness in this movie.
Because they're all ghosts, right, basically?
They're spirits. So spirit's a broader term than ghosts. Some of them might be ghosts, but some of them are like Haku was the spirit of a river. So he was this like sentient spirit of a river. So I think he was always this metaphysical thing as well. And the river dried up so he could never find his way home. They got rerouted or something. And Yubaba seems like a witch to me and not so much a spirit. I don't really know, though. Yeah, they're stink spirits exist. And there are people that work at this bathhouse. I mean, there's radish spirits, there's river spirits, there's these frog spirits. Again, this thing, No Face ends up getting redeemed because No Face ends up living with Zeniba, the sister, and being Zeniba's assistant. I mean, everybody's redeemed, even Yubaba to a certain extent by the end. And it's so bizarre. She walks back, her parents don't really remember what happened. They were apparently gone for a few days at least.
Yeah, because there's like leaves and things all over
leaves and dust all over the car.
And we don't see them because I assume in the beginning he's like, the movers will get there before we do. I assume the movers got to their house and all of their stuff's there and they were just missing forever.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Is several days. Like, where are these people? I don't know. I don't think the dad's gonna care. He seems pretty oblivious, but yeah, I don't know. That's the plot. And we're not even describing the details. I mean, there's not No Face vomiting up black pestilence after having swallowed 3 people and running around the bathhouse. Their love of lizards apparently is a delicacy that people really like to eat at this bathhouse.
One girl she trades him the fried little lizard, and all the frogs want it. There's a bunch of frog people too. This movie's crazy. This movie.
It is. They don't. And I love how little they explain. I mean,
I was not on the right amount of drugs, I think, to watch this movie, because it was like super weird for me. But that's just me.
I knew the whole time. I was like, oh, this is Eric's just going to be out. He's going to see this and think, oh, too weird. I'm out. I thought that the whole time. So since we're talking about how weird, what was the single weirdest? When did it reach its peak weirdness and almost lose you? What was the weirdest moment for you in this movie?
Well, I mean, it was probably when she got into the witch's lair and there was these 3 bouncing green heads just mumbling. I'm just like, what? And then the big giant baby. That was probably where I was like, okay, this, because I mean, before that you see, there's spirits. Okay, her parents turn into pigs. Okay, but you're like, all right, there's that's a little weird. She makes her way into this like coal burning area where they obviously power the whole bathhouse, and this guy has 6 arms, and that's weird. And there's these little sprite things that are also weird.
Yeah, they're shoveling coal.
But it's like, okay, that's a little odd. But then once the 3 heads and the baby, and then you get all the frog people, and that's where I was just like, this might not be for me.
Well, and none of the rules are explained. I mean, it doesn't really explain who can do what and what any of the stuff really means. It's just there. The stuff's happening, and it never gets quantified.
I always, with animated movies like this, I always start to think like, what would this be better as a live action movie?
Oh, okay.
And this, I thought of Pan's Labyrinth.
Sure.
There's
after this.
There's a lot of weird shit in that movie too.
Oh yeah.
And it's sort of a girl's journey. That's more of a scary kind of film. But I don't think you could ever make this it's too odd. It's too crazy.
Well, sorry. I'm delighted to hear you say that, Eric. You and I often disagree about whether it'd be better animated or not. I like animated stuff more than you, and this is definitely a movie that even now you couldn't really make live action.
There'd be a lot of CG. I mean, it would be.
And you couldn't have done CGI in 2001.
Right.
I mean, the CGI was not there to do anything even vaguely convincing at that time. No, it's a movie that could only exist as an animated movie. And it's so weird that's the adjective we're going to the most, but there's nothing else to say. It's just, there's no dramatic action sequence at the end. It just doesn't happen. In the end, the last test for the character is that there's like 2 rows of pigs, and she has to decide which of these pigs is her parents. Most people don't even want her to do the test. Everybody's like, don't make her do this test. She does it, and she says, I don't think any of these are my parents. And she passes it, and it turns out she was correct. And and everybody cheers for her. Everybody's happy because she's made everybody's lives better for this brief amount of time she was with them. But I like that there's just unexplained, bizarre, crazy things. And maybe if you're Japanese, you're a little more familiar with some of the mythology that this is pulling from. I don't know, but I have no bearing whatsoever about any of this stuff. Like the concept of a bathhouse for spirits who just need to take a break.
The concept of a bathhouse is wild to me.
Well, it's a spa or a brothel if you want, but it's functionally a spa. You eat, you relax, you get massages.
I've never been to a spa. I don't know what that is. Like,
you've never gotten a massage in your entire life?
No, I've never paid for someone to rub me down like that.
Okay. Wow.
No,
say
but
that
just
in a more nasty way, please.
Is there spas by you? You just in Des Moines? There's just a whole run of spas.
Not a run. They're all over. There's spas in the Twin Cities. There's very much places you can go where you can get a massage, or you can get a facial, or whatever.
That's not what this movie. They literally take baths. Like there's it's like saunas and hot tubs and like a place to bathe. Is that just what? Because it was like hard to find a place to get to bathe. Is that what the point of these things were?
For spirits, I guess they have special requirements. I guess I don't know.
Because you see a lot in like cowboy movies, they go to like the there's a hotel and there's a place where you can take a bath, and that was kind of like where my mind went with this movie. Is it that idea where it's like there's not a lot of places to take a bath out in the world. at that time. So that's why they have bathhouses. I don't know. We're going down a rabbit hole here.
Well, it's fine. We can, because it's too tough to. This is. I picked this movie, but it's an odd one to talk about.
Yeah. So why did you pick it though? What was the purpose?
I wanted an excuse to watch it. Basically, this is one I've been saving for a long time. I knew I'd have a chance to watch with my oldest, and we'd seen some other Miyazaki stuff.
Did you know like a lot about it, like what it was about?
I knew absolutely nothing about it, other than it's pretty well regarded.
Yeah, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is like off the charts. You said last week, it won Best Animated Film at the Oscars. It was, I think, a pretty big hit financially, right? I mean, in Japan, I think it was a gigantic hit.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I did see production of this movie started in 2000. With a $50 million budget, Walt Disney financed 10% for the right of first refusal for American distribution. So Disney was involved early on, so they paid for part of it and wanted to have the right to distribute it. Is this movie is it sort of Japanese criticism of Americans, sort of the gluttony and overeating and waste that we,
that could be. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could interpret like what's going on in this movie. That sounds perfectly valid if you wanted to say, hey, this guy thinks it's an amusement park and that this food he gets to eat because he's got money and therefore he's entitled to it. But then he just stuffs his face and they're pigs. Very, 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 very possible. So that's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, I picked it because I wanted to watch it in a long time. I'd been saving it. I just really wanted an excuse, and it was one I could watch with my daughter.
Worldwide box office, $395 million.
Well, and I guess I didn't see it at the time. I can't say why it resonated so well with so many people, but I think for a lot of Americans, probably, it's just not like any other animated movie you've seen. Even if you think, hey, this is a kid's movie, it's just so different from anything you've ever seen, both from the animation style and what happens in it to the way the plot works. I mean, it really is different than any Disney movie, and Pixar was still just getting started when this came out. I mean, Toy Story had come out, and there's maybe one other one, Toy Story 2, but it just wasn't like anything. It's just so different. The animation style was so different. And I think this was his first major hit in the U.S., although you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think
Mononoke was a big hit.
Oh yeah, that was kind of around. So maybe it was just trending.
And I really liked that movie. Like I said, I saw it in the theater. Like I really like Princess Mononoke. If somebody was going to ask me from the movies I've seen of his, which one should I check out, I would definitely say Princess Mononoke. But that's more of a traditional, like sort of a Japanese animated movie.
Well, yeah, and my favorite is still, even after this, is Castle in the Sky, where these kids just, like a robot falls from the sky, and it turns out there's like a robotic fortress which has its history there, and that's where the robot came in. That one's my favorite.
But Ebert gave this 4 stars, said it was one of the year's best films, and he added it to his great movies list. So Ebert loved this movie. I mean, most critics do. It's almost universally loved.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I've been saying, because I thought I would love it. Not to jump too far ahead, I like it a lot. I don't know if I love it, but I like it a lot. It's even among Miyazaki, this and Inoshka Valley of the Winds are the two that are just so bizarre and out there that it just, I don't have a framework. I don't have really
too
anything
weird
else
for Ben.
No, well, I do that as a compliment. Something really weirding me out and being really different is, I admire that. That's exciting to me. But it doesn't resonate with me maybe as much as some of the other ones did. But where you're going to dock it for being weird, probably I'm going to say this is a strength of the movie, is how different it is. And the sheer fact that what she does to save the day is she's kind to a spirit. She gives one a bath that's really, really gross that nobody else wants to give. And she, returns something and cares for this spirit and returns a bracelet. And that's what happens.
I also I thought of Wizard of Oz a little bit too.
Oh, sure.
Watching this,
she's on her own, trying to get back without her parents.
She learns to grow up a little bit, and
there's an evil witch.
Right.
She's got to kind of thwart. Oh yeah, no, I got the similar vibes. But yeah, I mean, I just think so many people. This is like, wow, this is so different. This is amazing. I don't have any framework for anything like this. That would be my guess for why it was such a hit. And the animation is fantastic. I mean, even if you're like, I don't care for the plot, it looks incredible.
The visuals are pretty stunning.
It's fantastic. It's not boring to look at, even if you're like, I don't know what's going on and it's making me uncomfortable. It's still, whoa, really, really great. But I mean, I kind of actually, I don't have much else to say about Spirited Away because it's such an idiosyncratic experience to me. Do you have any other thoughts you want to say?
No. What? I'm interested to find out what you would rate this on your Letterboxd rating.
I give it a 4 out of 5. It didn't quite resonate with me on a deep enough level to really take it to that big 5-star oomph. I love the way it looks. I love the way that it's not fighting that you resolve the conflict. It's the protagonist is kind and trustworthy and hardworking and returns something and apologizes for it being stolen. That's the big climax. And people are able to kind of talk through their problems and work together in a way that it's just different. And I like how weird it is. I just didn't quite connect as much as I would have hoped. Didn't leave me wanting necessarily. It wasn't like this is awful. It's just didn't bury its hooks in me to go above a 4, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. For me, this is another one of those movies that it's challenging for me to give a review on it because, again, it's I don't think it's for me. It's not intended for me to enjoy. So it's hard for me beyond like just seeing it as a kids movie to give my thoughts on it. I would say a 3. I'd give it a 3-star. Sure. A part of the reason why I probably have it even that high is just knowing that a lot of people really love this movie, and maybe it's more for those people, and to just try to appreciate the animation and the creativity of the story more than what I personally think of it, I guess.
I'm impressed. I didn't think you were going to give it that star. I didn't think you were going to give it even that much. So,
like I said, if it was just like did I enjoy it? I would probably have it lower, but like I'm trying to take myself out of the equation a little bit.
Oh, you're letting other people dictate your opinions. You're being a conformist.
Yeah. To be honest, yeah, probably, yeah.
You don't want to seem like too much of a rube. Okay.
But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
It was not THX 1138 to you?
No, it's definitely better than that.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Well, no, I'm pleasantly surprised that I was going to bank that. I was going to say 2. So you gave it 3 stars. All right. I'm impressed. If you build it, you will come. All right. Is it time to dive into our connection to Field of Dreams?
Let's do it. That was one of the reasons I asked that question early on, is like, because I had to use there's an American voice. There's a person's voice that's an American actor in this movie, and I had to use them because otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't have known how to connect some of the other voice actors to Field of Dreams. So
you go first. So I want to.
Sure. So I started with, I think her name is Dave Chase. I think it's the girl that does the voice of Chihiro. She's an American actor. She was in Donnie Darko, apparently. I think she played the youngest Darko kid.
Oh, okay, but
yeah. She's also in The Ring, so I went with the movie The Ring.
Sure,
she plays the girl with the hair that comes out of the TV. Like, that's her.
Okay.
So she's the girl.
The Ring girl, got it.
She's the Ring girl, yeah. She's also Brian Cox is also in The Ring. And he's in a movie I have never seen or heard of called The Affair of the Necklace, which has Hilary Swank in it.
Okay.
Never heard of it, but it's a real movie. It came out in, let's see here, what year was that? 2001. So Hilary Swank's in that. She's in a movie called The Hunt, which came out in 2020. I've seen this movie. It's pretty stupid.
Is that the one where like they're being hunted by rich people or something?
Yeah, it's got some like political
Angle
bits to it, because like the people that are hunting are like left wing, Democrats, and they want to hunt like MAGA people. So
jeez. Okay.
yeah, it's stupid. It's a really dumb movie. I didn't care for it, but Hilary Swank's in that, and so is Amy Madigan, who's in Field of Dreams.
Got it. Okay. All right. So you went with the woman from the English dub version, right? So I was gonna. It's like, all right, I want to do somebody from the Japanese cast, even though I didn't see the Japanese version. And so once you find the one way out, then you're good. Then there were a lot of different routes. So I went with Mari Natsuki. That's my attempt. She voiced Usababa or whatever. That's who she was. Yubaba. Yeah, Yubaba. There we go. In the Japanese version. She also has a role in the movie Isle of Dogs, the Wes Anderson movie. Another animated movie. And there's a lot of big name people in that movie. It's animated where there are dogs that talk and are sent on an island. It's a very weird Wes Anderson thing, which is fun. I like it a lot. But
I didn't hate that. I
liked All Dogs, and it was fun.
My kids got a little weirded out. They stopped about halfway, and then I finished it.
Yeah, that's like an animated movie, not for kids, because there's too much dry, weird stuff in there that you as a kid you're like, what? I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
These weird conversations. But I went with Jeff Goldblum. He's, I think, one of the dogs in there. But yeah, you had lots of choices. But I went Jeff Goldblum. And there was a couple of different routes. Jeff Goldblum is in a movie called Jurassic Park with Sam Neill. I didn't see Jurassic World Dominion. I wanted to, but I didn't have a chance. The reviews are really bad, and apparently it involves locusts way more than it should. Have you seen Jurassic World Dominion?
I saw it on opening day. My daughter loves the Jurassic Park movies. She particularly loves the Jurassic World series of films, which I don't quite understand, but we watched them all. Yes, we saw it on opening day. It's confounding, because it's like all the Jurassic World movies frustrate me to no end, because it's like you have this great franchise with this great idea, and you focus on the dumbest things. Like the first movie is the first Jurassic World movie is okay. It's about the park, falling apart. I'm okay with that. The second movie is about some auction where they're like genetically splicing dinosaurs, and they're selling them at some sort of rich guy auction, which is like, what's the point of this? And then this one, there's like genetic bugs that eat crops, and that's like the big twist of the movie.
Yeah, see, that's so
what
dumb.
are we doing? We're just make a movie about dinosaurs eating people.
You want to see dinosaur people, right? Yes. Yeah. Because when I saw the trailer, I loved it. Like, there's just dinosaurs existing out in the world that people have to deal with now. They're like spreading or whatever, and they're kind of like a big problem for people. They're really annoying, and people have to watch out for dinosaurs. That's great. And I loved seeing a velociraptor get like clotheslined in one of the trailers. It was one of the funniest things I'd seen. It was like, okay, that's dumb and looks entertaining. And then they're like, oh, it involves locusts or whatever the bug is. It's like, come on. They're just dinosaurs. They're spreading.
And then they bring in Goldblum and the original cast for absolutely no reason. Like, there's literally no reason for them to be in the movie.
They don't give them anything to do?
Barely. They're just there. The movie could exist without them. They could cut every scene of them being in it, and it would not change the movie.
Yeah, well, then I'm glad I haven't seen it, because it was like, okay, Jeff Goldblum, and I want to see a bunch of dinosaurs in cities and stuff being a problem. And then, that's not what happened, apparently. So I'm glad I missed it. Anyway, Jurassic Park was my second movie. Sam Neill's in The Hunt for Red October with James Earl Jones, who's in Field of Dreams. But you have lots of options with Jeff Goldblum. He's in The Right Stuff with Scott Glenn, who plays Alan Shepard in The Right Stuff. You can also get to The Hunt for Red October via Scott Glenn. So, anyway, a lot of choices. So that's fine. But yeah, I wanted to start with the Japanese version. So.
Okay. Well, if you don't have anything else to say about Spirited Away, I'll jump to a little bit of trivia for our next movie. All right. Again, give 5 sort of clues, little sprinkles of information for Ben to guess what our next movie is going to be. So feel free to play along. If you can shout it out at your phone or computer, please do. All right. So clue number 1. This is actually kind of funny. The cast of this movie includes acting legend and star of the classic sci-fi film THX 1138, Robert Duvall.
Okay.
It's funny that you mentioned that earlier.
No.
So it's
just the
Robert Duvall's in this movie.
Got it. Understood. Now, THX is going to be just the standard bearer for. I'll be surprised if something tops it for a movie you hate more than THX.
I don't even want to think about that movie again. Like, I don't. That I even said it really gave me the creeps. I don't even want to think about it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So let's move on quickly. Okay, this film was produced and distributed by a company called Netflix. So it's a Netflix movie. Netflix movie that has Robert Duvall in it. Is what the clues are so far.
I have a guess, but I'm going to table it for now.
Oh, okay. Clue number 3. It was filmed mostly in Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, in the year 2020.
Okay, I'm still tabling my guess, but go ahead.
Did that? Are you further away from thinking that this is or closer?
It doesn't help me.
Okay.
This
is probably not going to help either. Rapper Fat Joe makes an appearance in this movie.
No, didn't help.
Okay, last clue. I think this. If you know what this movie is, this will give it away. Okay. Number 5, Adam Sandler stars as Stanley Sugarman, a scout and coach for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, okay. Now I'm not going to know the title of it, but it's a new one that Netflix has recently been popping up in the top 10 or whatever. Is it The Hustler or something?
It's called Hustle.
Hustle. There we go. Okay.
So
I had no idea Robert Duvall was in that at all.
I didn't. I have not seen it yet, so I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
I've heard good things. I've heard good things about it. Again, it's on Netflix, so check it out if you haven't seen it. There is a specific. Do you know anything about this movie?
No, I vaguely knew it was about basketball.
Okay,
that's it. And I see Adam Sandler, and
I
need a lot of convincing.
I love that that's all you know about it, because there is a specific reason why I'm really excited to watch this movie. And if you don't know it yet, I can't wait for you to find out why. And okay. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to say anything more about that, but there's a very specific reason I'm excited for this movie.
Does it involve advanced stats?
Yeah, it's all analytics. The whole movie's about analytics.
I assume he's going to shit on advanced stats.
If he does, I'll be excited, but that's not the reason.
Okay.
So, Hustle on Netflix, check it out. We'll pop that in next week, and
pop that into the old Betamax player.
Yeah, well, first you got to get your disc from Netflix, right? You got to get the red envelope and then put it into your DVD player.
Okay. Robert Duvall's in this movie. Okay, wow. That's news to me until right now.
I think he plays the owner of the 76ers.
Sure, that makes sense. I mean, he's great. I'm not disappointed he's in it. Excellent. All right. So for the next time, we're going to watch just Hustle, not The Hustle, but Hustle.
Just Hustle.
Okay.
All right. Well.
Oh, and Eric, I just wanted to let you know, I mean, you could go to the Aurora Spa in Minneapolis if you wanted to. The Lantis Day Spa and Salon. That'd be another option.
Can I take a
massage.
bath at this spa, though? Is there a chance for me actually to bathe? Or is it just... Because I know there are places where you can get massages. I'm not that dense. I mean, I've been called dense before, but I'm not that dense. I know you can get facials and pedicures and massages. I'm talking like a bathhouse, like a place where you can actually take a bath and do all the stuff that they do in this movie, because I've never heard of anything like that. There's like Turkish bathhouses. Like, I've heard of those. There's not a Turkish bathhouse around, is there? That's like where you get like a steam, right? It's kind of like a sauna. But there's also pools and or tubs too. I'm just saying, I've never. Maybe you go to bathhouses all the time. It's not a thing I do.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I assume all these do have like hot tubs that you can soak in. I don't know. I assume that those exist. They show them in movies all the time. I mean, characters.
John Wick, right? He kills a bunch of dudes in a bathhouse.
Sure, there's saunas, and then there's spas, and you can always see like, if a movie takes place in New York and there's like rich white ladies, there's oftentimes a scene at a spa where they're.
But
like,
have you, Ben Lewis, ever been to one of those places?
Sure, but I haven't gone to the water. Like I've had a couples massage with my wife before at a spa, but we didn't like sit in a hot tub or soak or anything like that.
Okay. Well, maybe I need to get out there. Maybe I need to.
I don't know. Massages are nice.
Love it. Maybe I'll love it.
They feel nice. I don't know. Take your wife. She'll probably have a good time. Treat her well.
This has gone off the rails.
I just wanted to say, spas exist in the Twin Cities. Yeah, they don't call them bathhouses anymore. That's like
Are there spirits in these spas, though?
Of course.
Okay.
The spirit of great customer service.
I mean, if there's not 3 bouncing green heads, I'm not going.
I love those heads aren't explained. What are they? Are they sentient? Were they people?
They seemed like puppies. They just followed her around and mumbled. But
are they a hive mind? Are they independent consciousnesses?
Do they eat and shit like a normal person, or?
I don't think they do eat, because when they're in the baby, they just kept eating all the time because they.
That's true.
Hadn't experienced that sensation. They're just like stuffing their face with candy, and then when they're revealed to be the 3 heads, and they're like, oh, and they hop away. We'll never know. We'll go to our graves not knowing what the 3 heads are.
Do they have a name? Do they even get a name in the movie?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look, I don't know. Somebody had to make that sound,
right?
But I don't know if they have a cast list somewhere. Somebody's credited for the voice work for that. I don't know.
All right. Well, goodbye.
Bye.